And then we have type conversion or type casting. When we talk about type conversion, type casting, here we discussed about the data types. Okay, so we are trying to change the data type of a given variable or identifier. For example, I can say I have my integer n, which stores a value 71. So this is an integer. I can convert this integer to a float. So converting it to a float means I'll get this into a fraction. So I'll get my new variable, let's say m, which is 71.00 or 71.0. So this now is a float. Okay, so I've converted my integer data type into a float. That is what we refer to as type casting or type conversion. So you have different ways that you can do type conversion. So we told type conversion is the process of changing one data type to another. So we have implicit conversion and explicit conversion. When we talk about implicit conversion, this is the case where Python automatically converts data types in certain situations. That is, we don't convert them by our own. The Python convert them automatically. And then explicit conversion is now where we can convert the data types by our own. We use the inbuilt functions to convert these data types. So some common conversions that we have include integers, floats, strings, and booleans. So when converting a data type to an integer, we use the int function. For example, I have this as my data type. Okay, so I'll say int, and then I will pass m into this int function. So here I will convert this into a float into an integer. So I will get 71. Okay, that is int conversion. So you can use the int method or int function to convert values from other types to integer. Then we have float function. Okay, we have the boolean function. Then we have the string functions. Okay, so these are the functions that we can use to convert or to do typecasting. Right? Then we have debugging and testing. Debugging and testing, remember we're trying to write a code. Okay, so when I'm writing a code, I need to check if it is giving me what I'm expecting to have. Okay, so if I've written a code, assuming I've written 5 lines of code, I need to debug this code for me to be able to see if there is any error on this code. Okay, so that is the process we refer to as debugging. So debugging is the process of finding and fixing errors or bugs in a code. Okay, so sometimes this debugging a code can be disappointing. Yeah, you can have an error and then you can work on this error overnight, 2 days, but the issue can be a very small issue in your code. Okay, so this is simply the process of trying to find any errors in your code and then trying to fix this code. So it involves using different tools like breakpoints and print statements to identify and resolve these issues. So when I have my print function, it means I'm trying to run my code. Yeah, or the print statements, I'm trying to run my code. Right? So that is debugging. Then we have testing. Testing involves running a code to verify that that code produces the expected results. So I'm trying to get a sum of two values. Yeah, I'm trying to get a sum of 8 and 9. Okay, so I'm expecting to get 17 as my output. But then I'm running my code and then it is giving me 12, which is an error. So testing is simply trying to run your code to see if this code is giving you what you were expecting. Okay, so it helps to ensure that the code functions correctly and then identifies any errors or issues in your code. So that is testing. And then we have best practices when you're writing your code. So some of the best practices for debugging and testing include: number 1, using descriptive variable names. Okay, so talk about descriptive variable names. It means when you're defining a variable, this variable should be at least descriptive. Like I've been saying A, B, C, A, B, C, M, K, N. Okay, so that is not descriptive variables. You need to define these variables in a way that if someone is accessing my code, or if I'm sending my code to someone, he can be able to tell this variable represents this thing. Okay, for example, A, yeah, I'm saying A equals to 28. So this person may not be able to understand what is this A. So instead of writing A, I would assume this was the number of students in a class I was referring to. So I would say number underscore students. Then I'll say this is 28 students. So this person can be able to understand that variable. Okay, so that is one of the best practice that you need to know. And then another best practice is testing the code incrementally. This means I'm trying to write I'm trying to have a project, to build a project, and then this project needs to take up to 50 lines of code. So instead of writing all the 50 lines of code and then I run the code or I debug my code, I need to run at least if I run at most, maybe let me say 10 lines of code. Yeah, and then again you write another line, you run another line, you run another line, so that you can be able to see where the errors or the issues is with your code. Another thing is documenting the test cases. Yeah, so remember we discussed something about testing. So when you are testing your code, you need to at least document these tests, okay, so that you can be able to instead you forgot some issue or something somewhere, you can be able to refer to those documentation. Okay, and then the last thing is using test-driven development approach. So that is some of the key or best practices that you need to do or you need to know as a programmer.